What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is May 21st of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And today we've got a wide range of different topics to discuss, from crypto to equity and commodity markets. We're going to be covering the whole spectrum today, as we do from time to time. That being said, let's go ahead and dive right into our update right after our quick sponsor. Our sponsor for this episode is Perpetual Assets. Perpetual Assets is the country's first cryptocurrency and precious metals bullion dealer. They also specialize in retirement accounts, allowing clients to purchase crypto, metals, and many other assets with a retirement account. However, crypto and metals and an IRA is what most clients use it for. So if you have an existing retirement account or wish to start a new one and would like to have the option of having crypto in it, check out their LLC IRA solution. You totally control the retirement account, including where the private keys are held, and although they sell crypto, you don't have to buy it from them. Visit the link down below for more information. All right, everyone, so let's go ahead and take a look at cryptocurrency markets to start. As you all probably know by now, crypto has continued to kill it over the last few weeks, becoming the best performing asset class in 2019, where pretty much everything else in the world, whether it's stocks, commodities, bonds, whatever it is, most things are trending downward or flatlining for the year, not really producing any yield. So this is really exciting to see, this kind of non-correlated asset that's separate from any kind of national origin or any kind of economy, and really just serving as a store of value, or basically a hedge in a sense against the traditional systems of the world. Really doing well. And this is not just in Bitcoin. I mean, we've obviously seen Bitcoin continuing to disprove the non-believers over the last few weeks and blowing out expectations for those like myself who love crypto but didn't think Bitcoin could get above 6K right away. I mean, it's just been absolutely killing it. Not to mention, altcoins have started to follow. If we take a look here at the last 24 hours, a lot of the Binance IEOs and different cryptocurrencies have been doing quite well. Matic Network up 94% over the last 7 days, up 328%. We have BitTorrent as well coming out of the background and stuff, starting to take the spotlight again at 25% over the last 24 hours and 55% over the last 7 days. This is pretty incredible stuff, guys. And even some older players coming up: Neo, Golem, Zilliqa, Chainlink, Pundix. There's starting to be some pretty decent positive price action, and we're starting to see at least a pretty strong rebound, though I don't know if I call it an altcoin rally. I'd say a pretty strong rebound off of the sell-off we saw over the last few weeks, where altcoins were just depleting and bleeding comparative to Bitcoin. So it's very positive to see. Now, I want to spend some time to focus in on really what's going to lead markets, right? And that's obviously Bitcoin, guys. As much as I, would consider, for example, I know some of you have asked, and if you guys want to see it, as always, I like to read the comments, love getting your feedback. Leave a comment down below if you'd like to see me do like a top 3 altcoins pick this month. I'm really not too eager to do it because there's some projects that excite me, but I think I've already talked about the ones that really have garnered my interest. That being said, I wouldn't mind talking about some trading setups. But in today's video, guys, outside of that, again, you can leave a comment if you want to see that. The main thing I want to focus in on is talking about price action in Bitcoin and what I see happening over the next few days. So I've had a little bit of a change of heart over the last few hours, and that has been due to the fact that I sometimes will do something that I feel a lot of people haven't done in trading, and I actually want to do a trading tip video describing this in detail and talking about the different ways, seeing as price can move up and down, it can move different directions, obviously. We need to talk about basically forward-thinking price action. So what do I mean by this? So over the last few days, I think all of us were pretty confident we would see some kind of resistance at the $8,200, $8,300 area. And we did get that. We got that here on May 19th, right? And it locked up right at this range here that we'd seen previously. And obviously the sell-off started and people all were like, oh, it's an obvious guarantee. It's a double top, right? Well, the interesting thing, I want to denominate, do not focus on this candle just yet. I'm actually going to turn off my drawings so you guys don't get fooled by that. This is the current price action right here. One thing that I want to talk about is how, in some cases, when you have what appears to be a clear double top and sell-off and things of that sort, at the time, candles can give you the impersonation or the impression that something's final, right? We obviously saw, if the other day, if you were looking at this when price action was down here on the wicks, right, when the candle was down here on the wicks, we would have been off. It's obviously clear with this kind of strike sell-off, we're going to repeat this, and we're going to go lower, and we're going to close down on this price action. And that's what I was thinking about at the time. I think many people, most of the trading groups that I follow, most of the people I know in the space and respect who are traders, were calling that. But I want to talk about, considering the fact that daily price action can change, right? From the moment we produce our charts and we demonstrate things, I talk, for example, around 8 to 9 in the morning about cryptocurrency markets on the East Coast, and price can be all the way down here, in reality can sometimes come up by the end of the day. And that gives a big change in perception to where price is going. In fact, when you have a tall wicks like this and you're pressed up towards the highs, right? And this thing has been chugging along, breaking through every single key level of resistance. And not to mention today, even though we're still in the red, we're setting a higher low here, right? As we've done for the last 3 days. This is starting to give me an idea that we're going to have a breakout and get above this price range. If we can get the close above 8,400 on the daily, I put a comment about this on my last video, as well as a tweet on my Twitter. I really do believe this is going to break out and it's going to go up to 10,000 and really hit parabolic price action in a matter of 2 to 3 days max. The reason I can say that with sheer confidence, guys, or not sheer confidence, but pretty stellar confidence, in my opinion, is because, again, the price is showing it, guys. Why bet against Bitcoin? Obviously in this case, if we've seen how crazy it's been able to perform over the last few days. We know that it's overextended on NVT. We know it's overextended on the RSI, or at least it has been multiple times in the last few weeks. Well, RSI is back outside of the overbought range. Why not test it a third time? Volume's still strong and price is increasing. We could very well see it, right? Now, again, you are playing with a pretty low reward area compared to what you had back down at 3K. I'm just basically at this point, I'm not closing any profits that I still have in crypto right now. I'm going to wait till we get around the 9,600 to 10,000 range. I'm going to keep incrementing my stop loss as I go up, or sorry, my stop as I go upwards in this case. Basically, I just want to basically limit it from having any one of those flash crashes that might come through like we saw the other day. Would not want to lose that much gains on a play and feel like I get caught in the trade or anything. But I'm just going to continue to ride this up, guys. And I really do believe that if we get above 8,400, I'd be fine averaging down, adding a little bit more, and just trading for the short term. And then I'm going to take my profit around that range. Afterwards, I think we could easily see this come down, and this would be interesting because if we go to 10,000, if we go to that big even level, not only would that be 50% lower than the obvious highs of what we saw back in December of 2017, but one thing that I really find interesting is if we take a look back, we go back here to the price action we saw in the last parabolic run up, exiting out of the bottoming process for crypto. It was a 40% retracement from $500 to $300. 40%. We talked about these 40% retracements in previous videos. What would 10,000 to 6,000 be? 40% retracement. And why is 6,000 significant? It's where price held multiple times for more than a year and a month on Bitcoin's price. I think we are going to get that exact play out, guys. I think no matter how fast it happens, I don't know. I do believe, sorry, the chart always wants to go off because basically no matter if you do log or an auto, basically you have to put it on auto in this case if you want to usually use the chart normally, but we have to scale the price here. I mean, I honestly could see this happening, guys. I think this candle here that we're on right now is going to look like this candle, and it's going to get more exponential over the next few days until we reach around 10,000. I think there's going to be some serious FOMO. I really do. So, I don't know. I'd like to know what you all think about this. I know I've changed my perception a little bit around it. I thought we might top out the other day here, but honestly, we're still at around the same price range. And I honestly think this is very likely in this case that this candle could turn green today. We'll have to see though. Can the buyers come in? Can this still hold? I've been taking a look at the 5-minute here, and it just seems like we're setting higher lows in this case. We did obviously dip a little bit lower than these two over here, but it's honestly looking pretty consistent over the last few hours. So I'm happy to see that. I just want to see this continue to get back up to the range we saw yesterday in the afternoon, around $81 to $8,200, and again, see that momentum and the volume following it, right? So that's just what I'm watching at the moment, guys. Another thing as well, I mean, you can see in some of the other cryptos, Ethereum looks like it might be pulling in a wedge here. That's very tight. Some people call this a bull flag. Bull flags usually are when it's a consecutive rally and then a few days of low level sell off. So I would consider this more of a wedge. If you take a look, maybe at the hourly, for example, this is forming a pretty clear wedge. So definitely would like to know what you all think about this. And there's some momentum plays as well. XRP, if we take a look, ever since its launch on Coinbase, again, doing a very similar wedge pattern here. So we might get something over the next few hours. That would be pretty exciting. In other news, so Bitfinex has launched its LEO token, or its exchange token, the one that it supposedly raised $1 billion for. And if we actually take a look, Bitfinex makes it so difficult to look at their exchange if you don't have an account. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the crazy amount of volume coming through on Bitfinex for the LEO token. Let's just see how much is trading at the moment. So it just launched a little while ago. There's like little to no one trading it. I can tell you all, I have a feeling, just a gut feeling, could be wrong, could be absolutely wrong. I have a feeling they didn't really raise $1 billion, and I have a feeling that they, a lot of people really don't give a crap about the Bitfinex LEO token. That's just me personally. Again, I don't want to start anything, but I wouldn't want to have a token with an exchange that had a $400 premium and has lost half of its deposits in the sense of the Bitcoin that people had deposited on their exchange over time. There's been a lot of withdrawals, so I'll follow the whales in that sense. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the VanEck SolidX Bitcoin ETF. And this has been something that a lot of people have been, wondering about over the last, few days and stuff ever since the announcement came out. And I want to spend some time to talk about it. Guys, a Bitcoin ETF, let's be very clear, as much as I was one of the optimists, I actually recently, when I was at Consensus, I got to meet Hester Pierce, who's one of the SEC leads in basically deciding whether or not an ETF is going to get approved. But she's very pro crypto. Nonetheless, I wrote an article all the way back in the summer of 2018 talking about why a Bitcoin ETF would be good. An ETF would be good for fixing the things that the SEC is worried about, which are basically come down to manipulation and lack of liquidity. Right? Those are the really two biggest concerns here. And an ETF would be great for that because obviously an ETF would bring excitement to markets. So you're bringing extra trading and liquidity, an increase in price for Bitcoin, but also if you were able to take 1 million Bitcoin, let's say, for example, off the books, off of whales out there, and put it into an ETF and distribute that ownership amongst a variety of people, then, well, you're going to have a lot less whales being able to manipulate price, a lot less centralization of ownership of funds. That being realized, we can be as logical about it as we want. A Bitcoin ETF is not going to come out anytime soon. It is going to be either in late 2020 or 2021, right? It's well beyond where we are now. Not to mention, even if it got approved sometime earlier in 2020, it's going to take a few months to actually get implemented, most likely. Similar to how Bitcoin futures took a while to get implemented, right? These kind of launches are very, very important. And the SEC, as well as other regulatory agencies and the companies themselves, do not rush it. They take it nice and steady, and they launch it when it's ready. And when it comes to a Bitcoin ETF, I have a very, very strong feeling that it's going to be very similar to the Bitcoin futures, that when these things actually start trading, whether it's the VanEck SolidX ETF or another Bitcoin ETF, that it's going to be around the peak of the next cycle, right? So, I wouldn't be, worrying too much about the ETF. It'll come eventually, but I don't think it's going to come overnight, and I don't think it's going to be any time in the next few months. We're going to have to be patient on this one, guys. So, if they do approve something, let's say they stop delaying this and approve it somehow, then, that would just be an absolutely amazing spectacle. But I don't think it's going to come anytime soon, personally. Alrighty. So taking a look at equity markets here and commodity markets, equities are up around 0.5 to 0.8%, depending on what index you're looking at here. So we take a look. Again, markets opened downward yesterday on the 20th, and it looks very, very close to having a breakdown again against those levels we talked about. 7,600 for the NASDAQ is where I would start to feel really bearish and start to maybe take on some short positions personally. If we take a look at the S&P 500, sorry about that. The S&P 500, again, what I'm looking for is a break below 2,800, and on the Dow Jones, which has had a clear triple top. I'm really looking for this to break down below 25,200, and after that, be pretty confident sign that we're going to be declining. Now, let's say, for example, that we want to play devil's advocate, play the other way. I want to see price get above the McKinley dynamic, which is this white line here. It's an indicator you can download. It's one of my favorites. You guys can get this on TradingView. I would want to see price on all three indices getting above the McKinley dynamic and making support above it, but we'll have to see if it can do that, right? We've seen it hold support here, and once we broke through, that's when we started to see some pretty serious sell-off in price, as well as a continued uptrend as we broke through it down here. So again, equity markets right now are a little bit shaky. As much as it's trade war talks that are supposedly pushing the market, I think it has much more to do with the Fed and its lack of monetary policy changes to provide easing for the market, and rather they're continuing to produce tightening by, obviously selling off their balance sheet. They just dropped off $15 billion of assets the other day, continuing on that, the autopilot of the Fed balance sheet of basically just reducing the assets it owns, and also keeping rates flat at around the range that it's held for the last 2 or 3 months. So this is obviously not going to help support equities. We're going to need something else that can boost up markets, because stock buybacks aren't doing it. So, as well as the pension, the biggest pension buy of equities that they did back here, right at the lows, ironically enough. So, all right, so let's go ahead and take a look at gold and silver, guys. Gold and silver have just been, honestly, I'll say gold is looking more bullish than silver, to be fair, because gold at least is holding on its previous line of resistance as support. I'm assuming that down here around 1260, we're going to make support again and possibly move higher. But I'm not eager to buy this right now. There's just, in a market that has had as much fear as it has had in a trade war, to see gold performing this lackluster, I'm starting to really believe those who are making the bold claim that Bitcoin is acting as that new store of value, that new hedge against financial markets. Because this is really pitiful if there's a trade war going on and the Fed is continuing to raise monetary policy and markets are worried, right? How this thing isn't popping right now, how this didn't continue the rally upwards back here on May 14th, I don't know. Same with silver. Silver has been really disappointing, guys. I was hoping it would hold. It would hold up here around 15, and it's just broken right throughout April and May. And it looks like it's continuing downward and might even go back down here to it's around 14 to 14.20 per ounce. So I'm not eager to buy this right now. I want to see this decline a little bit more. If it starts to pick up some momentum, I'll ride the trade. But I just honestly, guys, commodities have kind of cut out my interest in stuff. Another one as well. We talked a lot about uranium and URA. URA is back down here towards around 1150, down towards the low area. So in the short term, I would be open to doing possibly a trade on this. But uranium futures, guys, basically the uranium spot price is not looking that good. We should have gotten up to 30 per pound, and we're down to 24.60. So I'm not messing with it right now. It's not on my radar. If anything, I'd be much more eager to play short on equities personally, and basically go long on crypto. I think crypto is going to continue to outperform a variety of asset classes across the board. It's going to be seen as the hedge this year, and I'm going to be looking to be adding a lot more. Any cash that I have on hand, I'm going to be buying around Bitcoin around 6,000 to 7,000. That's just where I've got my focus right now. Buying those dips, trading the rally. Bitcoin's not too hard to predict on the uptrends. And then also on the downside, it's best to just step out at the peak, wait for an 80% correction, and then average back in. That's how I play it. So anyways, guys, I'd love to know what you all think about all the things we discussed today. That being said, hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.